have been on this bench long enough to know that disrespect comes in many forms. Sometimes it arrives loud, angry, and obvious. Sometimes it comes polished, patient, and perfectly dressed, carrying itself with the confidence of someone who has never once had to wonder whether the room would bend for him. That was what entered my courtroom the morning Dominic Ashford stood before me. He was 24 years old, wealthy in the easy way some young men are wealthy, meaning he had inherited insulation long before he had earned discipline. He sat down before anyone told him to, crossed one ankle over his knee, and pulled out his phone like the hearing was some background inconvenience happening near him rather than to him. So my first words to him were simple. Put that phone away. The charges were serious. Reckless endangerment of a pedestrian, failure to render aid, hit and run within a private parking structure. On paper, those words look procedural. In real life, they meant this. Patricia Osei, 61 years old, a home health aide after a 12-hour shift, was struck in a garage by Dominic's SUV, fell hard enough to fracture her wrist, and was left on the concrete while her groceries rolled across the floor around her. Patricia sat at the table across from him with both hands resting on a thin folder. She did not look at him. She did not perform her pain. She simply looked like a working woman who had shown up because she had no luxury not to. That matters to me. Truth often arrives without decoration. She testified quietly. She had finished work, stopped at the store because one of her patients had almost nothing in the refrigerator and bought food with her own money. She was heading toward the elevator when she heard an engine, then hit the ground. The SUV kept moving. A few minutes later, while she was still down, she saw a man come through the stairwell, look at her, and walk past. She called out. He did not stop. When I asked whether she could identify him, she pointed to Dominic. Now, what interested me almost as much as her testimony was the way Dominic heard it. He did not look at Patricia. He looked at a point somewhere just above her head, the exact place people look when they want the appearance of listening without the burden of actually recognizing another human being. I have watched too many defendants to miss what that means. So I asked him directly whether he knew someone had been injured in the garage. He straightened and replied with a sentence no innocent person says naturally. He told me there had been visual limitations in the environment relevant to understanding his perception of events. That is lawyer language, not human language. So I told him his perception was on the footage and we would all watch it together. The security video was short and very clear. Patricia walking toward the elevator with 2 grocery bags. Dominic's SUV entering the frame far too fast for a private garage. The impact. Patricia going down. The SUV continuing up the ramp. Then, moments later, Dominic coming back through the stairwell, looking directly at her and walking away. When the video ended, his attorney rose with the usual tools. Lighting, camera compression, interpretation. Then came the part I expected but never welcomed, the careful introduction of the family name, the charitable projects, the developments, the jobs. The suggestion, politely dressed, that the court should keep a sense of proportion because the Ashford family had done so much for the city. That is the moment many rooms begin to bend. Mine does not. So I asked whether Dominic's father was in the courtroom. From the 3rd row, Richard Ashford stood. He came forward and did something rare. He said his son hit a woman in a garage and walked away from her. He said he had watched the footage and there was no camera angle, no lighting issue, and no legal language that changed what an honest person could see. Then he turned to Patricia Osei and apologized to her as the father of the man who walked past her. Finally, he told me plainly that his name, his money, and his civic standing had nothing to do with the facts and should have nothing to do with my ruling. That changed the room. I looked back at Dominic and told him his facts were simple. A 61-year-old woman, after a 12-hour shift, bought groceries for someone else with her own money. She was walking to the elevator in a garage posted at 5 miles per hour. His vehicle struck her. Her wrist fractured. Her groceries were ruined, and he walked past her. Guilty on all counts. I ordered full restitution for Patricia's medical costs, lost wages, and ruined groceries, paid by Dominic himself, not by his father, not through a family account. Him. I suspended his license for 1 year. Then I ordered 240 hours of direct service with the city's elder care volunteer program. Transportation, grocery assistance, in-home companionship. I wanted him spending time with the exact kind of people whose labor and vulnerability he had clearly learned not to see. Finally, I required a handwritten apology to Patricia in his own words, not drafted by counsel, not polished by a family advisor. If it read like performance, he would write it again. Then his father added one condition of his own. Dominic's access to family money would be suspended for the full duration of the service requirement. I put his name on buildings, Richard Ashford said. I should have made sure he understood what it means to earn one. 6 months later, the volunteer coordinator sent the court a note. Dominic had not missed a shift. One morning, he sat in his car for 11 minutes before going in. Then he went in anyway. That detail mattered to me because sometimes growth does not look dramatic. Sometimes it looks like a person sitting alone with his reluctance, then opening the door. That is what this room is for. Not revenge, not spectacle. Truth, consequence, and the chance to become better than the person who walked in.